Some transmissions shift. The TH400 conquers. Built in an era when muscle meant metal and torque came by the ton, this three-speed automatic became the most unkillable gearbox Detroit ever made, the backbone of drag racers, street beasts, and anything wearing a big block badge. The story starts in 1964. GM needed a heavy-duty automatic transmission that could handle the torque of the new generation of big block V8s, engines like the 396, 427 and 454 that were twisting crankshafts like pretzels. At the time, GM had smaller automatics like the Powerglide and the Super Turbine 300, fine for sedans, not for muscle. They needed something bulletproof. Enter the Turbo-Hydramatic 400 or TH400, a fully automatic three-speed planetary transmission built for brutality. It debuted in Cadillacs, Buicks and Oldsmobiles, but quickly found its way into Chevelles, Camaros, Corvettes and every muscle car GM built that actually scared people. It was over-engineered from day one, built not for efficiency, but survival. At its core, the TH400 is a three-speed automatic with a hydraulic torque converter and a compound planetary gear set. Sounds simple, but the way GM built it was genius. It uses two planetary gear sets linked by a shared sun gear, creating three forward ratios, 2.48 to 1, 1.48 to 1, and 1 to 1, and reverse. That layout gave it strong gear engagement with fewer moving parts than competitors. Fewer parts equals fewer failures. The main case was cast aluminum, light but rigid. The valve body, the brain of the transmission, used precision hydraulic circuits to control shifts purely with fluid pressure, no electronics, and every clutch pack, sprag and gear was built oversized, over-oiled and over-tested. This thing wasn't just a transmission, it was industrial hardware hiding under a muscle car. A bone-stock TH400 could handle 450 to 500 pound-feet of torque. And with minor upgrades, racers were pushing them to over 1,000 horsepower long before modern automatics could dream of it. The TH400 used a hydraulic torque converter, which does two critical jobs. Multiplies torque at low speed for launch, smooths engagement for daily driving. That's why cars like the Chevelle SS or GTO could leave a stoplight like a sledgehammer. Torque multiplication gave the engine a mechanical amplifier. The converter in the TH400 used stator blades and fluid coupling designed specifically for big lazy V8s that made mountains of torque at low RPMs. You could cruise at 2,000 RPM or launch hard without frying the internals, something early manuals couldn't match for consistency. The result? Seamless brutality. A car that could go from grocery getter to tire vaporizer just by stabbing the throttle. The magic of the TH400 is in its valve body, the hydraulic command center that tells the trans what to do and when. Fluid pressure from the pump moves through a maze of valves and passages reacting to throttle position via vacuum modulator, vehicle speed via governor, driver input via shift lever. It's mechanical logic, no computer, no sensors, no wiring. Shift too early? Adjust the vacuum modulator. Want it to hold gears longer? Swap springs or tweak the governor. Racers loved it because it was tunable with basic tools. Transmission builders could reprogram the valve body to shift quicker, harder and faster, creating the famous TH400 shift kits that became drag racing essentials. A well-tuned TH400 shifts with authority. Each gear change feels like a punch in the chest, short, crisp and confident. If you cut open a TH400, you'll see what separates it from lesser gearboxes. Everything inside is massive. Three-element torque converter designed for torque, not efficiency. 32-element sprag clutch, a mechanical one-way bearing that refuses to die. Multi-disc clutch packs with wide friction plates for heat resistance. Forged input shaft thick enough to survive nitrous launches. Heavy-duty oil pump that keeps pressure even under 7,000 RPM. No weak aluminum drums, no plastic pistons. Everything was designed for abuse. That's why the TH400 became the go-to in everything from dragsters to dump trucks. You'll find them behind big block Chevys, blown Hemi-swaps, diesel conversions, even off-road rigs that need torque more than gears. If it made over 400 pound-feet and needed to live forever, it ran a TH400. The TH400's gear ratios were tuned for power, not economy. First, 2.48 to 1. Second, 1.48 to 1. Third, 1 to 1. That first gear made launches violent. With torque multiplication from the converter, a 500 horsepower big block could hit 2,000 pound-feet at the wheels in first gear. Then, second hit like a hammer, right in the heart of the power band. And third, pure direct drive. The spacing between gears gave muscle cars that rolling surge of torque, constant, unstoppable acceleration. No gaps, no bog, no drama. Just that endless pull that made American V8s feel invincible. By the 1970s, racers had discovered what GM accidentally built: the perfect drag transmission. The TH400's simple hydraulics, strong case, and modular design made it a tuner's dream. It could be built with manual valve bodies so you control every shift, trans brakes for launching under load, and reinforced drums. Unlike power glides, which were lighter but had fewer gears, the TH400 offered perfect balance, strong enough for torque, with gearing ideal for quarter-mile launches. In pro drag racing, it became the go-to for pro street, pro mod, and even top sportsman cars. And it wasn't just GM engines, Mopar and Ford guys started adapting them too. When your rival's trans can't handle boost and yours takes a 1,200 horsepower hit like it's breakfast, brand loyalty fades fast. The TH400 spawned multiple versions. TH475, a heavy-duty version built for RVS and trucks, with a fixed yoke output and beefed-up internals. 3L80, the name GM gave it when they updated their transmission naming system in the 1980s. TH400 switch pitch, an experimental model with a variable stator torque converter that changed stall speed on demand. But the core stayed the same: simple, brutal, and unstoppable. That's why transmission builders today still use TH400s in pro-charged Camaros, LS swaps, turbo Mustangs, and drag-prepped GTRS. It's universal. Torque doesn't care what badge is on the hood. If you've driven one, you know. The TH400 feels mechanical. Shifts are solid. No lag, no hesitation. You feel every ratio lock in with precision. It's the opposite of modern automatics that try to hide the shift. A TH400 announces every change. K-chunk, K-chunk. You hear the drivetrain flex, the converter load, the tires bite. It's the sound of raw torque moving through metal, unfiltered by electronics. And for muscle car guys, that's sacred. That's what makes it timeless. It's not just strong. It feels strong. Half a century later, the TH400 is still the king of big power. Modern automatics have more gears and better efficiency, but none match its simplicity or strength. It's the perfect example of mechanical over-engineering, a product built for a world that didn't care about weight, emissions, or efficiency, just torque and survival. That's why companies like Hughes, ATI, and TCI still build TH400-based transmissions today, with billet drums, modern valve bodies, and trans brakes rated for 2,000-plus horsepower. From pro-mod dragsters to diesel swaps and trophy trucks, the TH400 is still doing what it was born to do: take torque abuse and ask for more. The TH400 wasn't designed to be legendary. It just refused to die. It turned muscle cars from loud toys into unstoppable weapons, a transmission so tough it outlived the cars it came in. Now, if you want to see the other half of what made muscle cars truly unstoppable, go watch GM's secret weapon built by Ford, the 9-inch rear end explained in detail. Because the TH400 might have delivered the torque, but the 9-inch made sure every ounce of it hit the ground.